Hello, Ambazonia, fellow citizens of our beautiful and peaceful Ambazonia. Welcome to our maiden program called Amba History. Today, I am your humble servant, Dr. Emmanuel Ngassa. You know me as Ask Doctor, as Ask Question, and all the like. But today, I am honored to moderate between two of our pearls as far as our Ambazonian history is concerned. Our people are scattered all over the world, but we are not disunited as our enemies would want the world to know. On the contrary, we are a united, divided people. Divided in the sense that we are on many continents because our fatherland has been stolen away from us. People have been made to believe that we are nobody because we don't have a history. A people without a history has nothing to show, has nothing to tell the world about. But we, proud sons and daughters of Ambazonia, scattered all over the world we might be, but united in one spirit, the spirit of the fatherland, Ambazonia. So today, we have launched this program called Amba History in order to tell our story the way we want it to be told. Long and forgone are those days when others were telling our story, when people were narrating things claiming that they were ours. No, we know better. And because of that, we want to tell our own story. This evening, on this first edition of Amba History, we're going to hear from two of our illustrious sons, our brother and comrade, Barrister Bobga Harmony, whom you all know, who has been in this fight for a very, very long time, for the fight for restoration. My other brother, Pascal Kongson, is also on this program to tell us history. Pascal is well versed. I don't know how, he's like a library, as I can put it. But even though he's a very young guy, he's so full of practical history. He's been in the village, he grew up there, he's been all around Ambazonia, and he's coming in today to help to teach our people, especially those of you who are still believing that our story is the same like the way they have it in the books that we used to learn at school. No, we have a living story. Our people are not yet dead. They are alive. They have told the stories. So without having to keep you for too long, let's just take a bridge. I am here, your humble servant in Germany, and our brother is over in America. And we go over to Barrister Bobga to say, welcome, brother. I think you are on the line now. I hope that the technique is ready to anchor us with Barrister Bobga. Is it so? Okay, if that is not the case, it doesn't matter. He will come in.
Sure.
Hello?
I hope so.
Are we okay? Okay, let me take a look at Zurich.
Yeah, I mean, in the studio?
The studio has to tell me because I hear you are hacked up. It's as if somebody is in between trying to steal the words, so that every two words is allowed to pass, but the third word gets missing. So we can't make a statement out of it, or we can make confusion out of it. So we'll wait for you to get all your words together, chain them up, and then we'll go now to Pascal. I'm sure Pascal's are, like I say in German, sicher, that they will not go anywhere. Pascal, is it so? You're welcome to the program.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ngassa. It's a pleasure actually to be here with you after all this while, and it's a very great pleasure to be here with Barrister Bobga Harmony. It's actually a wonderful day in my life. I have to write that down, and I'm actually happy that you thought about me to try to maybe edify the people about our history. Definitely, the history is very, very much intense, but we're going to try to make it very simple so people can catch up with the chronology, because if we have to go into the details, then it's going to be really like in a classroom. We don't want it to be in a classroom. We want it to be an edification process with some entertainment in it as well.
So, okay, that sounds very, very interesting. Now, I just asked both the gentlemen, who is ready to start? I know Barrister Bobga, which by virtue of his profession, he is going to take the legal aspect. He's going to intend to give us the details from the legal point of view. But Kike, you're going to tell us the story, isn't it?
Yes, I think, as they say, there's a Russian proverb that says the fish starts to rotten from the head. So we start actually from where our fish started getting rotten. And it was like, it was exactly, as we'll say, I wouldn't want to go back before 1884. We have to use 1884 like the reference point of Cameroon, because Cameroon came into existence, from 1884. We all know that in the Berlin Conference, which was actually organized by Otto von Bismarck and King Leopold of Belgium. You see, that was the partition of Africa, which we all learned in school, but actually we didn't really go in depth, maybe out of some educational manipulation by the system, which actually wanted us to take certain things. So before Cameroon in its name, that is the German Cameroon, we all know what we were. We were fondoms, kingdoms, chiefdoms, and all those little enclaves that actually had self-rule in their own constellations and lived in peace and sometimes in war with their neighbors. But then Cameroon coming to existence was actually a natural course of history, because the imperialists were looking actually for more resources, and they realized that Africa was actually a good place to start with, because actually Africa had been in the story, I mean, since the slave trade. And after the abolition of the slave trade, I mean, the slavery actually had to be done in Africa itself. So they didn't need to actually ship millions of people across the Atlantic or elsewhere. So the creation of Africa, the partition of Africa, was actually what I call the partition of various plantations. Africa was seen by the European imperialists as their plantation. So they were owned. Cameroon was a German plantation. It wasn't a country. It was a German plantation, which means we had our own civilization, which was actually neglected, because we had what they call civilization states. We had kingdoms, but these kingdoms actually were included when the state of Cameroon was created, which was actually a German colony. So that's where we start. We start with 1884, when that name Cameroon became official.
So may I just step in there a little bit, please? So you're using this date, let me put it this way, from the point of view to make it clearer for us to understand in relation to other world history, or are you looking at it from the point of view of the Ambazonian forefathers?
Well, again, you see, Cameroon itself, we have to actually look at the legality of it. Thanks be to God, Barrister Bobga is right here with us. The name Cameroon itself became Cameroon after the partition of the Berlin Conference. All those African nations were partitioned accordingly to their European colonialists. And Ambazonia definitely was in there. Ambazonia is a name that we're going to adopt, which is what came in 1984 when our elder Barrister, what do you call him, George Dinka, which actually came from the Ambas Bay. The Ambas Bay is the origin of the name Ambazonia, just as much as the Portuguese, they saw the river and they call it Rios dos Cameros, where Cameroon comes from. So we can say Ambazonia came from the Atlantic beach, and just like Cameroon itself.
Njaga. Cameroon is Njaga.
Ambazonia in the future. For now, we are still.
I'm going to disturb a little bit. Cameroon is Njanga, because they say Rio dos Cameros is the river of shrimps in Portuguese, and shrimps in Pidgin is Njanga. So Cameroon actually means Njanga.
Well, that was the kind of a simplification. It was a simplification which the Europeans adopted to name us. They named us Gold Coast, Ivory Coast, all those names that was made life simple for them. They didn't really consider that we had some names that were there. So even if we go back to the name Cameroon, if we have to be strict with the word, Cameroon should have actually ended where they saw the Rio dos Cameros, because the Rio dos Cameros doesn't go up to Bali, it doesn't go up to Nkambe, it remains right there in Douala. So the name Cameroon extended right up to Kuseri, right up to Garoua. It was actually just an acceptance. There's no historical fact why that far-flung place should be called Cameroon as well. It's just an acceptance. That's why we're called Cameroon. And as I said, Ambazonia is still in the future. We are now in 1884.
Okay, 1884. All right, you're welcome. So we put the bridge now. You can cross now from 1884. Move forward.
Well, when the Germans came, actually, they saw a different kind of civilization, which they didn't really care about, because what they wanted was their resources.
Barrister Bobga want to say something? Yes, Barrister?
Yeah.
Barrister, I heard you wanted to say something.
No, I wanted to say something by way of introduction.
Okay. I'm not getting the tone. I hope it is getting on. It is. I'm not hearing it here. But can
I think there is. Yes. There's one thing I want to say by way of introduction. I think we must sharpen the importance of
So we are having a lot of problems with the.
Can you hear that?
It's
Are you
jumping.
hearing me now?
At the beginning, you were losing words, but now you are jumping as if you're on the road going to Ngamba. So, can you try?
I wonder if the studio has connected me yet.
Studio, can you please give us a feedback if he's coming through? Because the way it sounds is as if we're going to have a ghost town tomorrow.
Oh, the studio has got some job to do.
Okay, now it sounds a little bit better. You've already crossed that stream at Bango. Now you're going towards continue. Yeah, speak on, please. Barrister? I'm sorry, it appears as if his message has to get a visa before he leaves America. Let's stay in Europe. Yeah, we don't need a visa. So, PK, Barrister, we'll come back to you. Don't worry, we'll come back to you. That information is very important. We'll still come back. But because of the respect of our viewers, we have to keep on talking. At least we came here to talk. Pascal, how do you say it?
Yes, again, as you said, when the Germans actually...
oh boy, you got it.
Pascal, move on, please.
Okay. You see, the Germans, they were now the owners of that plantation that was given the name Cameroon.
Okay.
And what they needed actually was a place where they could get their resources.
Can I talk now?
Barrister, just give a moment, please. Let Pascal finish. And then
you getting me now?
When the studio says it's okay, I need to get a signal from the studio that it's okay before we take the bumpy ride back to Bambi.
Can you get me now?
Okay, then try again. Come on, please.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
No, we're still having some issues there.
It's all right.
Well, it doesn't look good for us tonight, but we will not give up. We are Ambazonians. We know ourselves. No condition is more difficult for us to crack. Pascal, we will continue with you. We'll tackle that other issue.
Okay. Again, when the Germans took over that patch of Africa, they gave it the name Cameroon. They saw it actually as a plantation, a place where they could get their raw materials to feed their industrial revolution. That was the first purpose. That's why you see when the Germans took over Cameroon, the first thing they did was to build up the patches of land to create the CDC. So it's like going back again to the Caribbeans, where you have the slaves working in the sugarcane plantation. Now they need slaves to be in the New World. They needed slaves to be in their own country and tolling the land. And so they could actually have those produced and take them to the European markets.
Yes.
That was the first purpose.
I was just we need to focus.
Please, Studio, can you put up the microphone of Barrister Bobga for a while?
Between this history and
hello,
the
Studio?
whole concept of Ambazonia.
Barrister, please, we cannot get you well. And the information is so important that I would not like it to be hacked, as you are trying to do now. I want that information to come in as a full piece. You know, as a medical doctor, we don't like to do things in half ways. Patients might die. So we want you to present that you are. Let our brother in Switzerland continue, and then maybe by the time
I've just typed something. If Pascal can read it.
Okay, when Pascal speaks, while he's speaking, I will see if I can see from here and there. With the reading, he can do it later.
Okay, good. So it goes back now that we have to just fast forward a little bit to get to 1914 when the First World War started. The patch Cameroon was under the Germans. So the Germans lost the war, and by 1916, actually, there was already what they call the Picot-Oliphant agreement, which respectively drew a line to partition German Cameroon 80 to 20% for the French and the English respectively. That was in 1916. And then in 1922, I mean, there was a mandate that was commissioned by the League of Nations that transferred the administration of Southern Cameroons to the British and French officially. That's 1922. So our part, Southern Cameroons, we can say officially started in 1922. That was the date that we started like Southern Cameroons.
Okay, 1922.
1922.
Okay.
It was already partitioned in 1916, but 1922 was when actually it was.
Maybe you need to add a native doctor to that. Yeah,
I didn't get that. Pascal, did you get him?
I didn't get Barrister. I didn't get him.
Where? Can the studio help us out with this technique with this? I know that the network today is very, very bad, at least from my own end. Our first program that was scheduled for 8 o'clock couldn't hold because of the technical hitches that we had. So we must apologize for that. But as you see, we don't give up. We are still on it, and we have to continue. Yeah? I'm sure somebody is... Oh, where? So just see what is happening here. So, Pascal, please just go on talking.
Yeah, again, 1922, Southern Cameroons was administered as an integral part of Eastern Nigeria. That was in 1922.
And you.
Okay. So there's someone who knows what I mean.
And you, man.
I was needing one time. Thank you.
Have a good.
So I'm back. I hope that you haven't missed me because we have technical issues. Really try to have but it doesn't matter. Who can hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, Suresh can hear me. Barrister, can you hear me? Apparently not. Can you hear me, Barrister? No. Okay, then let's make the best out of this. We'll have to work on this issue. Pascal, please, let's move on. You talked about 1922, but there was a treaty, if I'm not mistaken, in 1916 or something like that, there was between the French and the English.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was exactly what I said before, the Picot-Oliphant agreement. That was when the agreement to partition Cameroon came to place. But then handing over to the French and English officially was in 1922.
Okay. And why didn't they do it in 1916? Because of the war or what?
Well, those are processes that take a while. They take some time. Don't forget that after the war, there was a lot of problems in Europe. Political instability. A lot of countries were actually in the brink. And don't forget that that decade that followed, actually till 1930, ended up with the Great Depression. So it wasn't really that easy to just do these things. They had to take time to retrace maps and all things, because after the war, don't forget that the whole world was retraced. That was the end also of the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
And don't forget, Palestine was also like a British mind as well. So a lot of things had to be done. So maybe it took the bureaucracy lasted, let's say, for 4 years. Yes, 4 to 8 years before they gave over.
That's true. So now, what I really would like you to talk about. If I hope you talk something about it. I would like you to give an example of how our kingdoms used to be managed before the Europeans actually came and started playing lunch and breakfast and tea time with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I know that a lot about and I want you, if you don't mind, to use that as an example to tell Ambazonians that there was already governing, there was already a culture, a civilization going on that the Europeans came and tampered with. And they did not come and ask friendly, they came and used force. So our people were actually at war. Take the case of the Bafuts who were at war with the Germans. These are things that I would like us to talk if you have some material to share tonight. If not, we'll keep it for a later date. So we come and tell our people. Let them know that we are not a people that started living when the people came to Africa.
Yeah,
I can hear you too.
That is actually the
yes,
part of
I do.
Unfortunately, that is a part of our history that we don't really have the details.
I should be asking, are you hearing me?
Barrister, please just hold on a moment because you're still coming. You're
yes, I can hear you. Are you hearing me?
I hear you in pitches, as if you package your words. But if the technique gives us that, let me see, there's something written here. I hope that they will tell us that we can let you talk so that people will understand what you're saying. So try it. You try it now. Let's just do a spontaneous thing. Try to talk Barrister. I will listen to you. Maybe you'll come through this time. Barrister? So from the movements of your lips, I can conclude, I can deduce that you are trying to talk. Is it? Pascal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barrister seems to be talking, but we can't hear words.
Yes, his voice has not got a visa to leave America. So you cannot come tomorrow talking. You have to let the European part talk tonight. And we'll arrange them with the Americans and get a visa for you to come and talk.
Okay.
Take over.
Yeah. I said again, nevertheless, we shouldn't forget also that the League of Nations back the Simon Milner Agreement, which confirmed the partition in 1919. Mm-hmm. That is, the partition was actually confirmed in 1919. Before 1922, the mandate commission of the League of Nations was transferred the administration of Southern Cameroons to the British and French Cameroons to the French.
Yeah, it has said a little bit. Can you please explain to the people what the League of Nations was? Because not everybody is versed with that term.
Well, the League of Nations was a league, which is like a team of nations which had the common interest to see that the world order actually had some stability from different aspects, from economics, from politics, from militarism, everything. That was the League of Nations. Today, it's called the United Nations. So the League of Nations was just those countries that actually could, the powerful countries, which were actually made up by the imperialists, and then they brought up some other smaller countries to make a kind of world organization to be able to run the world affairs. That was the purpose of the League of Nations.
Okay. So the League of Nations is that body that gave Ambazonia and many other countries to their colonial masters officially.
Yes, it was partitioned. First of all, it was partitioned in 1884, and then it's after the war. It's after.
But the League of Nations was non-existent then. In 1884, there was no League of Nations.
The League of Nations came after the First World War, just like the United Nations came after the Second World War.
30 years later, 32 years later.
Well, I haven't added up that, but that's it.
Yeah, 1884 to 1900 is how many years? 14. Then 1916.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So that was it. In 1922, that was exactly when we became Southern Cameroons, administered by the British, and the French Cameroons administered by the French. But then at that particular year, the Southern Cameroonians, as emancipated as they are, they started feeling some kind of a marginalization with their Nigerian weapons.
May I interlude again? You are talking of Southern Cameroons, but was there not a British Cameroons before Southern Cameroons?
Well, that's the British Southern Cameroons.
Why Southern Cameroons? Southern of what? There must be some northern.
Well, I was saying because the importance of this conversation. Are you hearing me?
We are hearing the noise that you are producing, but making some sense out of it is a little bit difficult. You understand?
I was trying to say that
so, Barrister, it's really difficult. It's difficult. Please.
Do you get me now?
We hear you. That's true. We hear you. But don't hear our brothers whenever they open their mouth. But the thing is that we cannot understand you because the technology doesn't allow your words to flow in coordinatedly. And so we have difficulties making out the sense that we want to say. That's our problem now. So I would suggest that Zurich continues to talk because Zurich has a better technology tonight than Washington. So Zurich has the better technology. Let Zurich talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That was it. So in that same year, 1922. Okay, you asked the question about why is it called Southern Cameroons? It's called Southern Cameroons because the British Cameroons actually started from where we have the connection between Cameroon today and Nigeria on the north, right next to the Lake Chad Basin. It came down right to the Atlantic. So it was a strip of land that was divided into north and southern zones. So the northern Cameroon it's actually not too relevant to us today, only when we try to go back to our history.
Yes.
That one decided to join Nigeria. So it's kind of off the table. But Southern Cameroons, it's where we are today. And this was the part that was southern of the British Mandate.
Okay. That's very good. So now we can imagine, we picture ourselves back in the early 20s. Back in the early 20s, we just had German domination, as I'll put it, colonization, which had really become stable. And could our parents actually master German in that short period of time? Because when I take the case of Bafut, for example, the Germans actually got to Bafut around the early 1907 or 19 something like that, if I'm not mistaken, because they were fighting wars to get into the hinterland. So how long were they then? How long did they conquer the grasslands and stay before they had to leave? Was it long enough for them to be able to have made an impression on us?
Yeah, of course there was. The Germans stayed all together in Cameroon before the disruption of 1914 for exactly 30 years, from 1884 officially till 1914. That's 30 years, and 30 years is a long time for people to pick up the language, in whatever way it is. So the thing is just that the adults could not speak German easily. They could maybe cite one or two words. But the kids who were born that time actually went to school in German, and some spoke German. It's just that before they became matured, there was this disruption of the First World War that actually now confused the whole situation, and people had to be reorientated into two different languages again. So the thing is, don't forget, if you look at the German technology, the infrastructure that the Germans built in Cameroon then, those things took a while to be built. Definitely, they had to communicate with the indigenes. Some picked up the language. The young people always pick up the language faster than the older people. We know this very well. The thing is, we don't really have records of how integrated our society was with the German society then. But it was quite a difficult thing because people were still very much in their conclaves, in their enclaves, in their kingdoms and fondoms. And those who made it to the coast, they were going there because they were seeking for jobs, like working the plantations. The people who left the grasslands and went down to the coastal areas, they were not going there to go to be fishermen. They were going there to work in the plantations, most of them. So,
okay. I want to take this opportunity to say let's let's take a short break so that we'll give ourselves enough time to regenerate. Maybe America can catch up with us technologically. So let's put the pause button and wait for America to come. Okay?
Thank you.
Studio music. Where's the music? It's not coming. The studio is coming.
He has given me victory. Oh, my God has given me victory. He has given me victory. Oh. All the days of my life I praise you. Everything that I have now you gave to me, Baba. Lord, I say for your love I'm grateful. Yes.
Back in the days when I was going back home, we thought that the future had something for us. Not knowing that France and La Republic had other plans for us. Marginalized, we had to leave Amba land in search of greener pastures in other lands. After so many years, we are all still homesick for our liberty. Ambaland, Ambazonia, you are my dearest home, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia, may God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia, you are my dearest home, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia, may God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. So many years are gone down memory lane. So many years and have been wasted down the drain. So many of us have been exiled for long, hoping for the rain, all that begun. Teachers and lawyers said enough was enough. Students, pupils, and all the folks had enough. Mancho B Big C bought out his coffin because he had enough. For 56 years were indeed enough. Ambazonia, you are my dearest home, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. May God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. You are my dearest Oma, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. May God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. Don't you think of it, it lasted just for too long. Can't imagine we were blinded for so long. Thank God we have realized it right now, and now shouting, give back our fatherland. They still continue killing some of us, thinking that that would break our resolve. They must learn to accept the simple fact that we just won back our fatherland. Ambaland, Ambazonia. You are my dearest Oma, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. You are my dearest Oma, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. May God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. May God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. When I wake up every blessed morning, when I go out to work every morning, when I return home later in the day, all what I wish remains still the same. Thinking of what has been happening at home, thinking of all what is there still to do. Hoping that they will come when we get back home and we start to build back our fatherland. Ambaland, 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 Ambazonia. May God bless fatherland, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. You are my dearest home, Ambazonia. Ambaland, Ambazonia. May God bless fatherland, Ambazonia.
Welcome back to our history. And I hope that the first part of our history was right. You've been able to gather something. Please, if you are a historian or you are a history student and you happen to have stumbled upon information that you think is worth mentioning here, or if you think that we left something out, don't hesitate to contact us. SCBC will show you our contact number, which is SCBC, of course. You can contact us to SCBC. We are always on SCBC. And we want to continue now, and I hope that Barrister Bobga has got his issues solved. Barrister, hello. How are you now? Hello, Barrister. Hello, Barrister. Can you hear me? So, I don't know what to say about it, but as you can see, we have not yet got to where the United Nations is. So, the United issue is not yet there. We are still in the league. And you know how the league is. Those who can play well are always on top of the league. So, that's why it was called a League of Nations. Isn't it, Pascal?
Yeah, it is.
On the League of Nations. They did not say, in Amba would say interquartier.
Yeah, kind of. It's still a league.
Okay, so coming back to we were talking about our names, and that part of British Southern Cameroons disappeared in Nigeria as Northern Cameroons. Okay, that is history. But we Southern Cameroonians, we've always been a people, and that we are still existing today, despite all the odds, despite all the how can I say it, all the campaigns against us. Yeah, it's like a very beautiful girl who is not yet ready for marriage, who does not even want to get married. But all the Fulani rich people, all the people in the villages who have money, go about trying to influence the mother. Those who think that the mother will have more influence, they try to use the father, thinking that she might use force, or they go to see an aunt. So even go to the parish priest because they think that she sings in the choir. But they forget that she's not even in the Catholic church. She goes to the Protestant church. By the time they get there, they say the woman is God. It's the same thing that happened to us. We've been the Germans, then Nigerians, British, Nigerian, and now La Republique. But we have always wanted to be on our own. We are mature enough, we are intelligent enough, and we are independent enough. And that's the problem with the people who have always been controlling us. The Germans had to face the problem because they had to fight wars in order to conquer us. They did not fight wars down the coast, as we say it. They came and signed treaties with the Abindia or whatever, with the Douala chiefs. They signed fake, they signed documents, and the chief gave everybody away. Said, okay, now you are our protector. But when they got to the grasslands, our funds, like the fund for Abumbi or Bafut, he beat them. Then the first Zingraf mission in 1907 or 1901, if I'm not mistaken. Zingraf came and thought that he would just rush over Bamenda and continue. But when he got to Bafut, the Bafut people beat him back. And Zingraf, the Bafuts went into German history as the first African people that beat them. They had to come back to Germany and reorganize themselves and get more gunpowder to come back and then beat the Bafut for 7 years. So, is that not enough proof to show that we've been, how do you say it? They say self-bewusst in German. We've been self-confident, that's the word, enough to rule ourselves. Just to go by the example of the Bafuts. Now, Suresh, Hike, tell us how it went on.
Yeah, the example you just gave actually was when they were fighting to create Cameroon with a K, which was a German Cameroon. But I think, it stands to reason that our kingdoms actually have their own self-rule. Even if it was primitive, it was some kind of self-rule. But I have to point out something right here, because our kingdoms were what we call civilization states. They had their languages. As primitive as those languages were, they had their languages. and they could do their own things. They have their own kings and their own traditional institutions. So the problem came when they had to join all these kingdoms together under one banner of Cameroon, for example. So that's when actually things start to get like complex, because now people from different corners of the system were coming to the same place, and they had to be ruled by the same laws. And these laws were not understood by the indigenous people, because these were laws coming from a dominant power, which happened to be our colonial master. So, again, as I said, about 1922, when British Southern Cameroons actually became an entity, at that particular time, there was already some kind of self-confidence that the people who lived in Southern Cameroons had actually garnered from their interactions with each other.
I'm
And
good.
they realized that they were also
I
kind of
hope
distinct from
that you
Nigerians.
guys can hear me now.
Yes, Barrister? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Try talking. Maybe the connections will work in one way, or I don't know what to do. You see, I'm so helpless sitting here, but I really admire your courage that you're still fighting against this technology. So try it again, brother.
I think Barrister has some real technical problems over there, and he has some really good points to make. And it's sad because we needed his input so that we could actually move smoothly in the chronology.
But I don't think it is. We are not defeated. You know, we are used to being hurt at stages, but the final victory is always ours. So what Barrister hasn't been able to say today would not be missing, because our aim is to educate our people, is to share this value information with our people. So I see no reason why we can't come back again and redo this.
For sure. The thing is, Dr. Ngassa, I want to say something.
Yes.
And you bear me witness, and Barrister Bobga also will bear me witness. You see, we can't actually use 1 hour, 30 minutes to read out the Cameroon history to people, the Southern Cameroon history. No way. We just have to use the milestones, the dates that are really important. Because if we want to go deep into it, then we need books upon books. And there are a lot of authors out there who have written books, even if we are not aware of them. They have actually treated these topics and regions separately and differently. So we just have to stay on the milestones that really matter. Those little details are not really important right here in front of the audience. I think Barrister Bobga will bear me witness.
Okay, I have no problem with that. So long as you are dishing out the information, every information is valuable.
For sure.
Understand? Every information is valuable. I'm just taking into consideration the fact that we have an audience that is diverse, that is diversified, is heterogeneous. And you have those who are well versed in the material and those who are hearing about it for the first time. What we as Amba landers, what we are trying to do is to share as much information as possible to help elevate the self-confidence of our Ambazonian folk. People should know that we have never been a citizen of second-class citizen. No way. Back in the 50s, you're going to talk about it in Enugu. You're going to talk about such issues. But I want to say that this our program is to share historical information that is going to help pinpoint the fact that Ambazonia has always been a very, very peace-loving people, but also a determined one. The fact that we don't go to war doesn't mean that we cannot fight back. It's something very, very important. And I would like you now to move on, Pascal, with our stories. We are living out the 20s and getting into you say Europe is in a Great Depression. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? How can Ambazonian folk, and what should they understand under this Great Depression? Were they sick?
No, the thing is, we have to understand something. You see, this is a sad case because our history, which was taught in school to us, was distorted because of some grand design, which I still don't know why. There were agitations already in the 1922s by the indigenous people of today's southern Cameroons.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, for example, that a person like Dr. Endele was already actually like the first person who, through agitations and groups of people, he created a welfare union, which was one of the first emancipated union that helped to orientate and teach, edify the indigenous people of Southern Cameroons. That's how their political consciousness started.
Mm-hmm.
While in the French Cameroon, it was something else. They were really much repressed in such a way that it took a while before those developments came. But in Southern Cameroons, British Southern Cameroons, those things were actually taking foot just because the CDC used to be the biggest employer of the whole nation combined. And a lot of even French Cameroonians were coming over to work, but the majority workforce was from British Southern Cameroon and some Nigerians. So the consciousness actually came because of the syndicates, because of the trade unionism that was created within the CDC plantation. So that's how people started getting conscious. But they were creating welfare unions. They weren't creating political parties. Political parties came a decade later after the consciousness had consolidated.
Which means that the colonial master at that time gave them this room to organize themselves. Because if you look at French Cameroon, for example, that kind of culture never existed. It was for the contrary. The African under the French was supposed to be somebody who's just there to follow orders, to be used, to be manipulated.
No, we can't say that. They were actually doing their own agitations, but you have to look at what they call the materialism in the system. Southern Cameroon had the biggest plantation, and the plantation was a center where people left their faraway villages to come seek for employment.
Yes,
they were integrated into the modern system of money, which they were not used to.
I think that
I think Barrister Bobga is talking. Barrister Bobga
must have said the whole armada of
it's not coming anymore.
Okay, I think we have to face the fact.
Read my text. Read my text.
Read my text. At the text, it says the text. So I suggest where the text. So Barrister, I cannot see the text you're talking about. 1919 Samobin Agreement, we already talked about it. Okay. Now, Pascal, yeah. I think that we missed Barrister's
input.
His input. We've missed it. But I would propose that we come back later, maybe next weekend, and redo this. That's my proposal, because I think that it's so important that we get this right. We shouldn't let the technical hitches derail us. It shouldn't.
For sure.
If you don't mind, you are also a fighter like myself. We know Barrister has always been there. So we will get back to work with our brothers at the studio to get the technical aspects better. We don't know what happened today, but there are certain days that things happen. This information is important. It's very, very important. So I would propose that we call it off for now. Barrister, I hope you're not disappointed, but we will get you back. We'll get you back the next time, and you will tell us exactly what it was legally. Because our country, Southern Cameroons, today Ambazonia, has a very, very rich history, but there have been a lot of manipulators, both European and African, each of them interested only in our minerals, but never in our people. But we, as a people, we can't afford to let others manipulate us. We, as a people, must stay strong, stand together, so that when we finally get to Boya, we shall be able to put our history straight and make it as honorable as in other countries. So that when our children are growing up and learning our history, they should also learn to be proud Ambazonians. So, Pastor, do you have anything to say before we call it off?
Yes, very important. As I said again, the history is quite intense to be able to spell out in a setup like this one. So, as you said, you rightly said, we have to do it in segments so that it gets into the people properly. Nevertheless, we stick on the milestones, and then we can actually elucidate and explain to the people in such a way that they can grasp and understand the chronology, because it's very important that they understand the chronology. And it's also very important that people see the root of the Southern Cameroon agitation. It's something which started in the plantation. People don't really see this, but it started in the plantation. As you said before, that the British were kind maybe to even give that space. The British never gave that space. People actually used their traditional meetings to build up certain consciousness and certain emancipations to be able to regroup and start to question certain things. In the colonial times, there was a lot of problems, but that's another chapter. But as I said again, we're going to stick on the milestones so that it becomes much easier for the people to grab the most important things that happened.
Okay. Barrister, I just wave and you see my hands waving, meaning it is a bye-bye. And it's a bye-bye to Suresh. And very big thank you, Pascal. Barrister, I know you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah?
It's a pleasure.
And I say it's a pleasure to be your host or your guest or whatever. I am a brother who is fighting for Boya. Meet you in Boya. But by the way, keep down your notes, send us your questions, and if there's anything particular that you want to know, ask question. So, Amba history. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye-bye, everyone. So, combination bit. So, are we now?